That's right. Kong Hee Fat Choi on behalf of everybody here at Great People TV. Kana?
Gongsi. Hello semua, apa khabar? Assalamualaikum. You guys are watching Great People TV with me and Ben Ibrahim. And seperti biasalah Ben, kita walaupun usually kita go live pada hari Rabu, tapi because special, Ben mesti nak ada masa untuk ayah sangat-sangat lah tak ada masa ni kadang-kadang. So we have to go live on Thursday, Alhamdulillah pada hari ni.
That's right, because Hana was in my kampong in the land below the wind in Sabah
Yep.
doing some shootings. Don't forget, Hana is a very busy celebrity doing a lot
Tak
of
lah.
content and cari makan, Nana. So it's all good.
Yelah.
So thanks everyone for joining us this week on Great People TV, bilingual show, a show that interviews successful people in business, entertainment, sports, technology, and in the news section as well. So before we get started, we just wish everybody Kong Hee Fat Choi. To those who are still celebrating and celebrating, enjoy the fireworks, the makan makan, and the family time together. But
Cap
please,
Kumi is nearing, right?
but yes, that's betul betul. Very very
Yeah.
close. It goes by so quickly. Cepatnya kan?
Tahu tak apa. Tapi Ben, apa-apa pun sebelum itu saya nak urge everyone who's watching us, who's joining us live right at this moment to don't forget follow and subscribe us on Facebook, on YouTube and also on our Instagram because we have actually plans to do live on Instagram as well. So jadi jangan ketinggalan untuk follow kami di ketiga-tiga platform ini, okay?
That's right. As Hannah said, we're not just on Facebook this year and YouTube, we are on Instagram as well. And our next two episodes, next week and the week after, will be on Instagram. But before we go there next week, we're going to stick in the present in real time in this week. And as you all saw on the poster on Instagram and Facebook and on the social media world, the topic is the future of Malaysian politics. When is the next general election? Who is going to be the head of government? What's going to happen to this government? You know, people jumping party, who's going to lead what, all the questions that we can't answer, but one veteran, intelligent man can answer. We'd like to welcome the one and only to Great People TV. He's got to give us a smile first. Datuk Zaid Ibrahim. Datuk Zaid, apa khabar? Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So,
Salam. Kong Hee Fat Choi as well.
since I gave you such a rolling introduction, Datuk, I'm going to let Hana ask the first question.
Okay. Datuk, since Datuk pun asal Kelantan kan, saya nak cuba lagi Cik Kelantan sikit lagi. Kalau salah betul kan? And don't, jangan gelak saya Datuk. Okay, Datuk, sekarang ni pun kita melihat macam sepertinya negara sedang bersiap sedia untuk menghadapi next general election. Jadi nak tahu dah nak tanya Datuk sebenarnya bila next GE ni Datuk?
I don't know. And but the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Because the country needs a new mandate from the people. We need a new government, a new set of people to run the country.
Now, Dato, like you said, you need a new set of people, and you came out a few days ago, and you were quite critical of certain things done by the government and everything. What are you not happy about? Can you elaborate further?
Yes. In the first place, we have a big government. We have 70 people running the government, 70 or odd. That's not a government. That's a cargo train. A government has to be run by a smaller group of ministers, capable people who makes decisions. Here in our country, we have too many people making decisions. We have the Lord and the subsidiary Lord and the other subsidiary ministers. We have their advisors. We have pockets of power everywhere. This is not how to run the country. I mean, if you look at in the news, I can only judge from what I read in the news. I mean, you have a minister of religious affairs talking about education in this country. Now we have a situation where, the religious affairs, the department, you have the state, and then you have Jakim, and then you have the muftis, and then you have the minister. But look at what happened to those Tafe students, for example. Who take care of them? They're sodomized by some people. They got burned in fire. They have not received any compensation. Yeah? You look at Tabung Haji, we need a royal commission. Tabung Haji was started as a savings for people to invest so that they make some money and go to Mecca. It's quite a simple structure. But what happened now? So you see, and then the economy, of course, you have groups of decision makers making decisions that we don't know about. There's opaqueness. There's no transparency. The patronage system is very deep in this country. This is not how government runs. But if you want to run it well, this is not how it should be done. So I have a lot of complaints about the government, yes.
Yeah, yeah. You said that in an article about 4 days ago. I think it was FMT. But just on that point, tell us about, like, at the moment, we Malaysians, the people of the world, what we see on the net, the news, social media. We see party hopping. We see statements in the media saying that maybe a PM's tenure should be only such a period, much of the US. We see that there want to be a law for anti-party hopping. That's what we see. But Dato, I mean, you got your ears to the ground, you got your contacts, you were a minister before. Tell us what we don't see.
No, there are a lot of things we want, of course. You want anti-hopping, you want prime ministers to be limited to 2 terms. But those are fanciful stuff. I mean, we need a good prime minister to start with. Doesn't matter how many terms. But how do we get there? We need good government, never mind the politics of it. Because as you know, politics here and everywhere is probably 30% service and 70% self-interest anyway. So politics is complicated. I'm not an expert. I'm a failure in that regard. But what I can talk about is, what do we want from this government? What do we want from our country? What do we want our people to be? That has to be articulated. And the people, and that has to be the leader of the country. It doesn't matter how many terms. But we get distracted easily in this country. We get distracted easily. I know we like to talk about politics, but like I said, let's talk about the country. Let's talk about the systems that we have, the process that we have. What's wrong with it? I must tell you this, Ben. I appreciate you inviting me to speak, but I have to be very careful because in this country, if you express your opinion, you can go to jail. The Attorney General has just charged Fahmi Reza, a cartoon, for what? I don't know, for sedition or for offenses under the Multimedia Act. I myself have gone through this for 5 years for just speaking out. And then you have the state government of Pahang yesterday filing a defamatory suit against, or rather threatening a defamatory against a critic of the timber logging activities. Now, this is not just a bad government we have, man. This is a bully government, a big bully. So this has to be set right. And this is why I'm very disappointed with the opposition, I mean, this is the group of people who wants to see fundamental change. I was part of them. But you know what they want? They want 2-term limits. They want what? They cannot even get parliament sitting properly. And like I said, we must have our priorities. So yes, coming back to your question about term limits, to me those are fanciful stuff. I don't care whether we have it or not. It's of little consequence.
Okay, we're just getting spiced up and fired up
Yeah.
here. The sambal is coming out now. Serve the ikan bilis, please.
Datuk, you talk about service, Datuk Taj, just now, kan? But have politics actually gone so chaotic that people actually forget the role of government is to actually to serve the people and country? So what do we do about this now?
We have to have a general election. You know what happened the last 3 years? We've got a government in 2018. And then, because of various reasons, of course, some self-inflicted, some because of outside pressure, the government jatuh. So what do? We should get back to general election, get the mandate of the people again. And if we have to go through that, we have to go through that process. But you know what we did? We had excuses. We got emergency, we got this, we got COVID, Excuses, there's no end to it. If you don't want election now, you can say Omicron, and after that, you can say something else. Because the problems of this world, there'll be climate change and whatever. So, but if you want a functioning government, which I think we need, we have no choice but to call for general election. And instead of supporting this government, everybody says this government should continue. And then in the next breath, attack them left and right and center. I mean, there's so much contradiction and lack of clarity in our thinking. That I think, I feel sorry because I'm an old man, but I'm worried about the young generation. I'm worried about your children, Ben, because this is what we have today. We have 70 people running the government. I don't know if they're running the government. It's not done anywhere else. So we got to get this right.
So, Dato, I'm just gonna stay with you there. Sorry, now. I'm just gonna stay
Go
with you
ahead.
there. Let's. I'm gonna be very direct here. So you are very unhappy with the present government, and I mean, we're not here to say anything about who's wrong or right, because I mean, we just report the news really. But in your opinion, no right or wrong answer. Which party should rule the government then after the next general election? If you had to handpick this party, who would it be, and which
No,
people would be there?
I don't know.
Come
I
on
don't
lah,
know.
Chita
But
sikit. You have a lot of opinions in that big brain of yours. Chita sikit.
yes, I have an opinion, but I will say this. I said, before we go to which party, we have to get this right, I think.
Okay, let's go back to basics first.
We have to go back to basics first.
Okay, what is basics?
In this country, we have so many new parties. We have so many small splinter groups. We
Yeah.
have party hoppers. They create, then they form a new party. We have about, I don't know, 50 parties or whatever in this country. Now, what we have learned from 2018, we should learn something from it, is that this aggregation of smaller parties called Pakatan Harapan should have been able to do better in 2018, solidify, consolidate, make them stronger, and run the government properly, as promised. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Okay, you can say it was internal sabotage. It is true, but that's politics. So what we have learned in 2018, from 2018, smaller parties, small aggregates of parties cannot run this country. This country is too complicated. The complexity of our problems, whether it's racial, religious, social, historical, whatever, it can only be run by a party that has a very dominant vote. So the voters, I appeal to the voters of this country, you can make a choice, which party you want. But it has to be a party that has commands sufficient support from the voters. It has to be a dominant group of people. Only then we can address this problem. Only then we can take the difficult issue. You see, Ben, in our country, there are so many taboos. We cannot talk about the Sultan. We cannot talk about timber. We cannot talk about, what else? Religious people. We cannot talk about Jawatan Agama. We cannot talk about so many things. We cannot talk about education in some respect. We cannot talk about Malay rights. We have a multitude of taboos. The only party that can straighten it out, if it wants to, is a party that has got a dominant support, majority support, strong support. So you pick and choose.
Which party is
But
that?
if you try to experiment,
Betul tanya.
if you
Parti
try,
mana tu, Datuk?
Parti mana tu, Dato?
well, I think the three dominant parties. Okay, listen, three parties that are sizable. By dominant, I mean if you don't have 100 seats, man, you cannot govern this country on your own. If you depend on a group of fellas to share power with you, of course there will be a lot of people who wants to be prime minister, deputy prime minister, 3 deputy prime minister, 4 senior ministers, 7 advisors. You can add all them up, but you cannot govern. So, criteria 1, which party you think can get 100 or close to 100 seats? Because that party of 100, if it only wants 20 or 15 seats to govern, they can find, and there'll be stability. So if you think PAS is going to get that 100, go for PAS. If you think UMNO is going to get the 100, go for UMNO. If you think Anwar is going to get it, go for Anwar. But don't split it into all over the place, because this is the recipe for disaster. We have seen it. So I don't know. UMNO with all this problem of, and PAS with all this problem, Anwar with all his breakaway groups. I don't know. I really don't know. It's not. I'm avoiding the issue. I just feel that when you go to the poll, you must decide. This is the party that I think will get majority dominant support. I must go for this.
Pada pandangan Datuk lah kan, kalau Datuk ingin address masalah ataupun isu-isu yang seperti ini, parti mana yang mungkin Datuk akan join untuk sama-sama menggabling tenaga untuk address isu-isu yang Datuk sebut sebentar tadi?
I'm not going to join. Firstly, I don't think I passed that stage of joining any party. But I think young other potential in this country still is, I think UMNO is still, especially in Johor, I think they are very strong. And I think nationally, they're still strong. And I don't know about Sabah Sarawak. They have strong parties too. But I don't know how much support they have here. I don't know. And PKR, I think, would be less strong, I would think. I don't know, but because of the defections. So, yes, to answer your question, I think, and PAS, as you know, PAS has got 3 states, Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, very strong. Now, with the addition of Tan Sri Mahyudin there, with the addition of Bersatu, they might be stronger. So, it is possible. It is possible. In the next election, you will see PAS and allies becoming the dominant party. Although, as we speak, as it stands, I think UMNO Barisan Nasional still has the edge in that regard.
And because it's raining so hard in near my house, Datuk, Johor election, will UMNO win easily?
Oh, I think it will win, but I don't know whether it's. I'm not really on the ground.
Well, comfortable.
I think they'll be comfortable, yeah, because I think the issues are less complicated, I think, in Johor than elsewhere. I think, So it is a question of mobilization, explaining to them, networking. You know what it takes to win elections, as opposed to ideological front. There's no ideological front in Johor. Unlike, say, Kelantan, or Terengganu, So I think Johor is a case of the party that organizes itself better will win.
Right.
Okay. Let's, sorry, Nah, you go first.
Okay, sure, boleh Ben?
Boleh.
Datuk, saya selalu tengok juga Datuk kan, Datuk agak vokal juga bercakap mengenai isu-isu di Kelantan, dan terutama mengenai isu royalty. Kenapa Datuk memilih specific matter seperti isu royalty ni after so many years, and kenapa Datuk rasa that key issue untuk bring PAS ni dominance over Kelantan? Are you taking cues from Sarawak?
No, this issue is not something I just pick up, Hannah. This issue poverty is an issue that's close to my heart. And Kelantan has really problem. That's real problem in my heart, Kelantanese are quite successful business people, entrepreneurs.
Betul?
They are very good
Itu
at
betul.
that.
Top usahawan.
Yeah, usahawan. But you still need infrastructure, You still need ports, you still need power, you still need water, you need the whole thing. We don't have money. You see, our budget in Kelantan is quite, enough just to pay salaries, I think, and pensions and all that. So this issue, the royalty issue, has been there for many, many years, except that in 2010, PAS decided to file a suit in the federal court against Petronas. So at that time, we thought, okay, we're going to win this case anyway. So we don't talk about it. And then a few years ago, they decided to pull the suit out on some promise that they will be paid something. And that's why I think we have been shortchanged. Kita dah kena pada saya kita kena tipu lah.
Hmm.
Jadi
Betul,
itu
Datuk.
hak kita. Duit minyak ni, you know, for every tong that we sell, for every barrel, we have 5%. That's what the agreement says. And so there shouldn't be any excuse. And if you want to help the Melayu, you want to help the Malay, the poor, that's the place. Well, why are you denying that? You know? So I think this issue should be canvassed by all the major parties. I'm just a spokesperson. I don't represent any party. Cuma saya rasa, why are we not asking the federal government or the Prime Minister? Why is PAS, for example? PAS very close to the Prime Minister, you know? Or PAS close to, because they are in the cabinet, so they must be close. And PAS is very close to Tan Sri Mahyudin, of course. You know? So, if you are so close to everybody in power, because in this country, if you're close to 3 or 4 people at the top, everything's done. That's how democratic we are. Tapi, my question to you is, why can't you ask? Because you're scared, what? He get upset with you, sack you. Jadi, this is the problem. Kalau kita cakap pasal, kita kena bela mafakat Islam ke, mafakat Melayu ke, mafakat ini ummah ke, all the big words they use, why can't you defend the interests of your own people? Which is already there. You don't have to file any suit. You know Sarawak. Sarawak makes about what? From the sales tax and from the royalty, they make maybe 2-3 billion a year. Okay, let's say Kelantan's got 1 billion a year. You know what we can do with 1 billion a year? We can get the water sorted out. At the moment, my house in Kota Baru, air dia pat. And sometimes ada colour merah. Then
Ya ke?
sekarang ni di Kelantan ni, orang kata air pun dah payau.
Air tertarik.
As if the sea water has come into the... you know? So how do we solve this problem? That's why I think we should fight for this oil money. That's all.
Datuk, tapi is it really an issue yang rakyat Kelantan benar-benar aware ataupun rasa macam relevant enough for them to want change? Sebab isu ni dah lama dah. Tapi masih kat situ ke? Apa
No.
lagu tu?
No, because Kelantanese are just like other people in Malaysia are the same. They're very docile. You know, docile. They mandu, they takut. They don't want. They know what is right. They know it's there. Tapi, catch it dulu lah. You ask first lah. You know, this is our culture. That's why we live in a feudal system the last 500 years. But they know. If you ask me whether Cantonese want the oil money, of course they do. If you ask me whether they understand the issue, yes, they do. But to get them to be more vociferous, to be more demanding, they look up to their leaders. That's how our people, our culture is like that. We look up to the leaders. But unfortunately for us, our leaders are not of the same caliber as, say, Japan or Korea, Singapore. You know, our leaders are of a different breed. Because we never allow good leaders to go up. Because of our patronage system. Not because of our, whatever, problem that we have. So, which is why I say we need to ask, what is it that this country needs to have? And I think we need a major overhaul in that regard. But the answer is, there's no short answer. The process has to be democratically done. And sikit demi sikit, or no matter how long it would take, we have to go through the process of selecting new people to lead the government.
Okay. Well, we're going to ask you later about new people, Datuk, because the last question that I'm going to ask you anyway is that, like, in 10 years' time, what do you want the Malaysian government to look like? And we'll ask you about your opinion about certain leaders and whatnot, because, like you said, in this country, good leaders sometimes don't go up, if I'm putting it diplomatically lah. Tapi let's sidetrack the topic of Malaysian politics for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So let's talk about your aspirations. Sorry, we've got a technical problem here. Yeah. Let's talk about your aspiration. That you've been involved in Malaysian politics for a long time. I think the year 2000, almost 22 years. And
Oh, I've been in politics for 32 years.
32 years, sorry, not 22 years. 32, got my maths wrong.
And like I said, not very successful. Yeah.
Well, you became a minister and you resigned on principle. I'll never forget that. So,
Yeah.
most people, I mean, most people wouldn't. They would hang on to that position as long as they can. But you have principles, so my respect from us lah. Tapi, what about your aspirations? Dato, you were part of UMNO once upon a time, and then you went on your own. You joined a few other parties. Any chance that this next general election that you will stand?
Very remote, because I don't think I will get any. You see, the first thing is, if you ask me, would I stand for what? I'll stand for example, if the party says we're going to support you on the oil for Kelantan, yes, for example, then I might be interested. But if there's nothing like that, what would I stand for? It's very. I feel very strongly about the oil issue, but you see, Ben, in this country, I know we cannot sort everything in overnight. We can't. But we have got so many things wrong. That we have to start somewhere. No, that somewhere, I think, is where, as you said, we have to have new people. When I say new means not necessarily young. New means people who are brave enough to put forward a certain proposal, a certain plan for the country. For example, UMNO can be new. They have lost. They lost it in 2018. And of course, they didn't listen to me earlier for many, many years. They even sacked me because they thought my views were too radical, too liberal, whatever they call it. People say I left the party. I didn't. They sacked me on the issue of preventive detention, on the issue of human rights and the laws and that sort of thing. So when coming back to this new thinking, I'm not looking at young and old, because you can have a young fellow who knows nothing. I'm looking at the willingness to look at the new paradigm, the new ways, how this country. UMNO is the best to do that because they have suffered themselves. They now realize that when you have no power, somebody else will abuse that power. It's a bit like Animal Farm, right? If you remember Animal Farm,
Yeah.
the pigs all get together and say, let's topple the farmer, because he has been very cruel to us. Until when the farmer was toppled, the pig became worse than the farmer. Now, so coming back to UMNO, I hope they will reform in a big way because they have seen it. They have seen what power can do to dismantle them, able to charge some of these people in court. They have seen the effect of no power. So, you have to have institutions sorted out. You have to have institutions with integrity, professionally run. It's not the individuals. See, in our country, we look up to, so and so is the prime minister, so and so is the director general, so and so is the minister. That shouldn't be too important. What is important is, do we have a very good police setup? Do we have a good MACC setup? Do we have a very incredible Attorney General's chambers? These are the checks and balances, the institutions, not the person. Because if the person is compliant because you are in power, what happens when you lose power? He'll be compliant to the next fella. People talk, for example, Ben, about Najib a lot. Kleptocracy, grand theft, whatever. It's as if that there was no kleptocracy before Najib, there was no theft, there was no abuse before Najib. And that, post-Najib, everything will be hunky-dory, everything will be great. But it's not going to happen like that. So, well, you do what you have to do with Najib, but you still have to reform the institutions. You still have to change, because otherwise it will be a vicious cycle. The politics of revenge will continue then. The politics of revenge, I come to power, I'll take Ben as my Attorney General, I'll take Hannah as my police commissioner, and then so on and so forth. And then I go to jail for abusing my power, and somebody else will come in and will appoint Ben's brother or whatever. This has to change.
Right.
Betul. Betul.
Datuk, saya ada soalan Datuk. It seems to me that you have like a positive outlook juga on UMNO, the party. Adakah Datuk melihat dalam banyak-banyak parti, Datuk rasa UMNO yang paling banyak belajar daripada kesilapan-kesilapan bermula daripada GE yang sebelum ini?
Good question.
Pandangan
I
Datuk
think
bagaimana?
I think UMNO is one of the favorites to change things because of their existing dominant size. They are already they're quite well entrenched in many ways. So it's not like starting from scratch with them. They have the numbers, they have the people. It's just whether the leadership wants to change, which I don't know. But what I'm saying is, but if you start with a smaller network, let's say Muda or Pejuang, I don't know what sort of network and support they have. I doubt they have very much. So it would be more difficult. It would be more challenging. So PAS, for example, would be a candidate for change too. But I don't think they can change because they are driven by a small group of people at the top called the ulama. So a bit more difficult, I think. Although they have the network. So, like I said, plus and minus, tolak sana, tolak sini. UMNO is still the best party, in a best position, as it were, to effect this change.
Tapi Dr. Zaid, yes, UMNO has the numbers. UMNO, to me lah, UMNO has the resources and the knowledge and the experience to execute a lot of operational things and strategic things for negara Malaysia. Tapi who will lead the pack? I mean, there's been talks about, yes, it's a bit difficult with his court case and everything, but he's still a very popular figure. Bosku Najib Razak, Datuk Seri Najib Razak, he's still a very popular figure amongst many, many Malaysians. I mean, I know it's challenging and difficult, but it looks like he could make a comeback and become Prime Minister again. Your views?
Well, I think, you see, Najib has got as you know, this court case and then all these other cases. And now even his accounts are frozen, Obviously, a lot of people are working very hard to prevent him from making a comeback. But it's one thing to be stifled by a court verdict, man. But it's also the people's verdict that matters in politics. Now, my assessment of Najib is this, that despite his problems in the court case, he's obviously a very influential man. He obviously has a lot of support. But I don't know how much support in UMNO. I don't know whether he can make a comeback. But what is important is, for so long as the party, UMNO, has an open mind about things, if UMNO members are willing to trust him, and he is willing to effect those changes because he has learned from it, I suppose it is possible for him to make a comeback. But he's not the only one. I'm sure in UMNO there are other people that probably can do just as well doing this reform. I don't know, because I left the party, or rather the party left me 12 years ago. But there are people, for example, Tok Mat is very capable, I'm sure, And you have, on this side of the cluster, you have Khairi, you have, I don't know, Hisham. There may be other people that can do the job. That's for UMNO leaders to decide, UMNO members to decide. But like I said, UMNO members can also decide Najib is the man. And so, if that, at the end of the day, this is politics. Policies are made by the political party, regardless of the position you hold. So the influence of Najib is obviously very strong, and I think UMNO will be better off taking heed of his advice in respect of the election and so on. So I think, yes, it is possible for him to make a comeback in that sense.
One last question before I hand back to Hannah. Pick a leader for if UMNO were to win the next general election. Pick a leader. Who to lead the pack?
Who is to lead the pack? Because at the moment, UMNO leaders, UMNO members, they're going to have a meeting, I believe, on this. Well,
King of
that's the
your
best place. That's the best place to decide. That's the best place. They may decide Ismail Sabri, for example. They may decide Ismail Sabri is the man, the poster boy, kata. Or they may say it's Tomat. Or they might even say Najib. Because we don't know. We cannot predict the outcome of all these cases, you know. They may even say Khairi. I don't know. I really don't know what UMNO members will decide. But they have to. They have to come and sit down and say, okay, this is the person we want to lead. Unless they do that, it will be very difficult for them to present as a dominant, strong party without the leaders. And I forget, the other vice presidents too. What's his name? Khaled Node. I mean, they've got a few people around. And then they have the Pemuda. I don't know them very well. But they may be. Get the members involved. Get the members to show support. Stick by that. Trust democracy. Trust grassroots support. This is how I think they can progress.
Okay, thanks. Nah?
Datuk, tadi Datuk cakap sikit pasal muda dan resources muda yang mungkin kita lihat sekarang ini kelihatan agak terhad kan. Tapi ada younger generation coming into the new GE ni, effect a considerable amount of change, you think? Sebab for better ataupun for worse? And what are your thoughts? Sebab ramai juga sebenarnya kalangan anak muda yang dah agak fed up lah dengan old regime ni sebenarnya, Datuk.
Yes. And like I said, I'm too old to understand what the youngs want, but obviously I can understand their frustration because I'm frustrated too. But
Okay.
I don't know. There's one thing to feel angry, Anna. It's another thing when you come out and vote.
Oh yes, I will. In fact, I akan balik Johor ni.
Yeah, for you. But what I'm saying, would the young fellows turn out to vote? I don't know. Would they come up? Would they know who to vote for? Do they understand the issue? You see, we are all excited about young people voting, but they have to know what they want. They have to know what the issues are. And I hope they do, so that, you know, the climate, the political climate change for the better. I want this country to be better. That's all. You know, you ask me my aspiration, Mr. Ben. I just want to see a better policy. I want to see accountability. I want to see a government like other governments in the world. You know, I don't want to see feudal laws. We have too long this feudal law system. You know, you get this because I want to give to you. That must end. You get this because you're entitled to. You know, the idea of patronage is too long, too far, too deep. And we cannot have a good government without accountability. We cannot have one unless we bring the best people to run the job and unless we are transparent. Everything is secret. Ini nak bawa masuk pekerja Bangladesh pun, MOU, secret. Apa benda ni? To bring migrant workers pun secret. This is the mentality of those people who wants to keep power for themselves. Why do you share with the people? Why is our nak cari maid so expensive? Why? Let the numbers come out. Who charges what? Macam balak. Everybody says we are not involved in balak. And everybody says, oh, we are doing according to the rules. But what are the rules? Can we know who are the operators of balak? Can we be more transparent? You know, yesterday I was driving from one place in Jeli, Dabong, Gua Musa. In that 1 hour, 50 minutes, I saw 8 lorry balak full. So it's very active business, this balak business, despite all the problems we talk about. But the government says, oh, we are doing it by the rules. But nobody knows what are the rules. Nobody knows what tonnage, where, who inspected them, who verified them, who audited them. So that's all I want. That's my aspiration. I want a better country.
Okay. Speaking of that, Dato, I'm just gonna twist the question that I sent you on WhatsApp this morning. I remember in 2010, Facebook is new, Twitter is new, Instagram tak ada, Zoom tak ada, banyak social media tak ada, TikTok tak ada. And I interviewed you when I was a young journalist in Bernama lah, or not so young lah, but young enough. And I remember asking you the question at your party launch. I said, as a you want to be Prime Minister of Malaysia. If you were Prime Minister of Malaysia, what would you change? I'm not expecting you to answer that question now because that question is ancient history. But back then, 12 years ago, what did the Malaysian people want then? And like you said to Hannah just now, what do the Malaysian people want now, 2022? What's different? What's the same? In terms of what people want.
No, I think it's the same thing that people want. People want a more responsible, accountable government. People want less corruption. People want less abuse. People want more to filter to them. People want the wealth to go to them more than to the people at the top. People want more equality. You know, we talk about minimum wage. Berapa tahun, man? 1,002. Now, I remember it's already 8 years we talk about minimum wage, and we're not even at 1,005 yet. You cannot live with 1,005. All it needs is a government cabinet to say, this is the amount, the money that we need. And everybody has to work around that. If you keep asking the employers, of course they say it's too high. If you ask this group, of course they say it's too high. You just ask, you study, you have all the experts. What is it that you need to live decently in our country today, in the cities? That's how you do things. Just like chicken. Suddenly, everybody's giving subsidy now. Huh? Suddenly they realize that the supply chain has gone berserk. So what do? The easy way is bagi subsidy, bagi subsidy, bagi subsidy. They never look at the process, the system. Oh, I welcome the subsidy. At least it helps the people. But how long? They say until June. So what happened after June? You see, we cannot deal with problem on an ad hoc basis. We have to deal with in a systematic way. Increase the wages, for God's sake. Increase the wages of the people. And I tell you this, if you have this problem of foreign workers not sorted out, you cannot have extra income because your wife cannot work. Siapa nak jaga anak? Orang ni tak boleh kerja. So you must allow for, if we have to bring more foreigners, then we bring. If they do productive work in our country, why not? After all, it's the foreigners or the immigrants who built this country anyway. Without the immigrants, we wouldn't have rubber plantation. We wouldn't have palm oil. Without immigrants, we wouldn't have tin. Without immigrants, we wouldn't have KLCC, Mr. Ben.
Yeah,
So-
very much so.
So why suddenly we becoming so pompous and so action? Susah sangat nak masuk ni lah, kena ada syndicate approved by government lah. We have to address the issues. And that is how I think we solve the riots problem.
Yeah. I've only got one more question, Hannah. Or 1.5 lah. Nah.
Okay, sebab yelah, I rasa key point ataupun take away daripada apa yang Datuk bincangkan tadi adalah kita semua nak a better country. You know, a government that put service and people first. But jury's still out on whether we have the leaders that will really represent that utopian dream. Berapa ramai nak tanya, how many leaders are actually interested in service rather than grabbing powers ataupun berapa ramai yang memang betul-betul nak berkhidmat?
No, I think it's like this, Hada. It's not utopian. Okay, everybody. When we talk about something that is better, it's not utopian. Utopian suggests it's unreal. A country must strive for the better because other countries have done it. Other countries have increased their living wage, have increased their minimum wage, have gone to the higher levels, have got better schools. better highway, cleaner water. Other countries have done it. So we are just trying to be like that. That's number one. Number two, I think the process of change will happen if you allow it. You see, it's a dynamic thing, this change, But if you have so difficult to have an election because you have to close parliament, then you have to go and do this, you have to do that. If you put a lot of hurdles in between, of course it's difficult to change. But if you allow for the process of change to happen, more people will come in. You might decide one day to do something else, Hannah, and you might be a leader selected by the people of Johor, I don't know. But the avenues must be open. The avenues must be open. And that is what the peasant leaders must do. They cannot, if they don't allow for that opening, then the country will not change.
Setuju.
Okay. And Dato', just like this question before an unplanned question, which is I call a fun question. I will tell you that in a minute. But you know what? I mean, your Aish, your grandson, I think he's about 10, 11 years old, maybe a bit older. Like in 10 years' time, he's probably at university. In 10 years' time, my children are at university, and Hana will still be a big figure in my children's life back then in future, inshallah. But what kind of Malaysia do you? I mean, that's 2032. What kind of Malaysia do you want Malaysia to graduate to? I mean, apart from what you said, the accountability, the transparency.
Well, I think people, I want a happy country. A happy country, a happy environment. In other words, the sense of dissatisfaction and the sense of grief is limited. Nak cari makan boleh, people have got good income, people have got good school, people can interact with each other without much hang-ups, there are not much restriction, roadblock pun kurang. I like to see less roadblock, I think we have the country with the most roadblocks, So I want a happy country for my grandchildren, because only then people can develop. Only then personalities can grow. Only then your intellect can grow. Only then you can have a fulfilled life. So we all want towards that. But we have to progress slowly, of course. But that's what I want to see for my grandchildren.
Okay.
And I think that's what you want as well.
Of course. Yeah. Happiness is wealth. So above all else. So look, Dato', it's been a good interview. Really great chat.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you sharing your views on this topic about the future of Malaysian politics. Not an easy topic, especially this year, with the upcoming election and everything. But the last question that I will ask, or we will ask you, and Hannah, play along. I didn't mention this in the WhatsApp that I sent you today. In 10 years' time, I mean, no disrespect, a lot of the current Malaysian politicians, whether they're current ruling coalition or opposition, a lot of them will be a lot older, probably retired, or, and inshallah, they'll still have their health. But you're relying very much on the 40s and the 30s generation to come through. Not necessarily politicians, not necessarily young, like you said. They could be technocrats. So Hannah and I are just going to blurt out 3-4 names, and you just tell us which position you'd like them to be in. I think whether the Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of this, Minister of that, maybe a CEO of an XYZ company. Who knows? They could be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Tony Fernandez. So we'll start with a few. We'll start with a few names, yeah. Okay, I'll go first now, and then now we just bounce lah. You can just think of any names.
Okay.
Khairi Jamaluddin, 10 years time, yeah.
Khairi Jamaluddin, I think, has got a good prospect. But then I think he has to be humble. I've heard that, he tends to rub people off sometimes in the wrong way. Of course, smart people are like that. But unless you are Muhammad Ali, don't do that.
10 years time, what position is he? Is he PM? Is he DPM? Is he a minister?
Oh, I think it depends on UMNO. His future ties up inextricably with UMNO. If UMNO is still a very viable proposition to govern, then I think he will be there. Yes.
Yeah. Well, he was a good minister of youth and sports. I give him that. I worked. So he was good
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
and he's doing a good job now with MOH. So yeah. Hana,
Syed Saddiq.
orang Johor.
Sadat will be probably in the opposition still in 10 years' time.
Okay. Johanna Suhandi Rampas.
I don't know her.
Okay, but she's intelligent.
Yeah, obviously. If she is, and if she is people-oriented, I think she should go far. Yes.
Okay, no.
Nurul Izzah.
No, it's good. I think she's got the material to go far. And she has shown enough resilience, I think, over the years. So, yes.
Hana Yo.
Which position?
Sorry, which position?
Oh, I really don't know.
Will she still be in politics or?
No, I think she'll be in politics. I think she. And as for Hannah Yo, I'm very fond of her. I think she's one of the bright sparks in the country. Hannah, again, her future is tied up a lot with DAP as well. Unless DAP managed to improvise and make it more appealing to the masses, as it were, because there's a lot of distrust with the people, in some sense, in some respect. So Hannah shouldn't get tied to that, and she should do well. Yes.
Now before I go to you, can she become the first female non-Malay prime minister?
In this country?
Oh yes. I mean, which other country would you think of?
No. I mean, in the sense that in the next 10 years?
10 years, yeah, 10 years.
No. She won't be. She won't be.
Why?
Because she's Chinese. Just like there will be no Malay prime minister in Singapore in the next 10 years.
Okay. All right. Okay. Facts are facts. Now?
Wan Faisal.
Who's Wan Faisal?
Is he still in Bersatu?
Bersatu, he was
Ben?
deputy minister of sports kan sekejap.
Yeah, Deputy Minister
Yeah,
of Sports.
Tall
He
chap with
cannot be
specs.
that impressive if I don't know him.
Okay. We wish him all the best. Fahmi Fazil?
Fahmi Fazil, yes, I like him. He's a nice person, very helpful MP. But his future, again, depends on PKR. He's a very loyal person, and I'm sure he will stick.
Sorry, just the technical difficulty there.
You have to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Datuk.
Yeah, if PKR can make progress, I'm sure Fazil will do well. Yes.
Okay. Now I've only probably got one more name. It's good job, you guys. We just quit frozen there. Now, can you hear me now?
Right. Yes, I can.
Yeah. Sorry, I only got one more name. Do you have any more names?
Datuk, name me one figure from Kelantan that you think will lead Malaysia in the
Zaid
future in
Ibrahim.
10 years' time. Yeah, there you have it.
There it
That's
is.
a confident statement.
No. That was just, I was saying jest. No.
Why not? Let's make it a
Come
dua.
on, make it happen. You said it first here.
Yeah.
This is where your campaign starts.
No. I just want the oil money to come to Kelantan first, develop the state, improve the schools, improve the roads, improve the water, and then from there, a few bright sparks will appear, and that person will then lead Kelantan to greater heights. I have no doubt about that.
Okay.
Well, you can be that person.
You can be.
No, I'm the.
You're
I'm
being too modest, Datuk.
No, I'm too old. If I'm younger, and I'm just too old.
Yeah.
I'm not Mahathir. I don't have his gene.
Yes, that guy's got power, man. He's smart, health and semangat. Okay, last question for me, Dato. A technocrat, whether they're young, old, mid-age, whatever lah, a technocrat, whether they're an entrepreneur, usahawan, or a CEO, who can make the switch to be an effective politician.
Najib Razak.
Huh?
Najib. You see, Najib is a very good technocrat, but he's not so great as a politician because, in the sense that he plays with the dragons, but he's quite kind-hearted.
Right. Yeah. He's he's
Yeah.
nice guy. Nice guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's my friend, so he knows what I mean. But he's a very good technocrat, actually. There are many things he tried to reform, the civil service. He understands the problem,
Yeah.
and I think people should not forget that, despite his problem now. So if you ask me, the kind of technocrat I want to see successful in politics is someone who understands the fundamental problems of governing this country, the machinery, how the machinery must reform. Najib understands that, but whether he can be brought back politically, I don't know.
Right. Okay, well, look, it's been a very, very colorful interview or colorful episode. Dato and Maghrib is approaching 1 minute to Maghrib, so Azan's about to come. So, look, Dato, thank you so much for your time. We wish you all the best for your political journey as well. We hope that you will contest because your views and opinions are always very interesting. And as we always say to all our guests on Great People TV, if you ever want to come back and tell us a story, just send Hana and I a WhatsApp. We'll have you back on board. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ben and Hannah. Thank you.
Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Bye, Dato'.
That was funny.
Interesting take. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. He's great. He doesn't hold back.
And I think he's quite honest in all his opinions and ideas, as a matter of factly.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. Did you?
Same.
Yeah.
Never thought that I get to see this side of Datuk Zaid because I've never had a one-to-one interview with him, so yeah.
Yeah. I used to interview him back in the day. He's a bundle of laughs. Also lah. So yeah. Anyway, now how's your work schedule over the next few weeks? Pretty busy?
March, because Ramadan is approaching in April, so
betul juga.
a lot of things had to be finished off by March, you see. So yeah, hopefully everything okay lah. But I know we have a list of interesting individuals that will be up on Great People TV, so I really don't want to miss that.
Yeah, so don't forget everyone. Thanks now for mentioning that. Jangan lupa minggu depan on Instagram ya. On Instagram we have Sasha Saidin, who's now living in Dubai. Okay,
Yay.
so she's a great singer, great entertainer, and she's very direct. She's very honest. She will tell you everything about, her marriage or her previous marriages, her current life, what it was like to work as a singer and actress and just really survive in this really tough business of entertainment. And very easy person to work with. Had the pleasure to working with her in Dubai. So she's a great storyteller. And then the week after that, again on Instagram, we have Francisca Luhong, who is the current Miss Universe Malaysia, a Sarawakian, who's living in KL. Very nice girl as well. A very smart girl, young girl. So yeah, she's a good storyteller, very passionate about Sarawak. And she'll be coming on Great People TV. Both of them will be coming on Great People TV to tell their stories. So join us next week on Instagram. And be safe. Any last words now?
Jangan lupa untuk keep on subscribing us and following us on Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube. We'll see you guys next week, inshallah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and take care, yeah? Bye.
Bye.